Liberals survive first confidence vote. Bloc threatens to push for an early election. And Bill C-223 was defeated in the House of Commons. This is the Great White North Report. Alright, so the Liberals survived their first non-confidence vote after the end of their agreement with the NDP. And I foresaw this was happening. Poilievre pushed for the non-confidence vote, even though I think he knew that it wouldn't work. The NDP are not going to go along with him, and neither are the Bloc Qubecois at this point. When it came to the vote, the NDP voted with the Liberals, as did the Bloc Qubecois. I think only two independents, two of the independent of the four that there is, they voted with the Conservatives, and the Green Party voted with the Liberals. And it's not in the best interest of any party right now, other than the Conservatives, to do so, to topple the government and call for an early election, simply because they know they're going to get creamed. And that's the thing, they're looking at their own political future instead of what's probably best for Canada at this point. So they expect a whole bunch of these confidence votes, and each one is going to put more and more pressure on those that don't vote the Liberals out, because the NDP right now are really tied to the Liberal Party for what they've done over the past 2 years, the supply and confidence agreement. I think the NDP were trying to distance themselves away from being smeared with that brush, but it's too late. Poilievre is not the kind of person that's going to let them off the hook. He's going to continue to pound and pound at them in the press and in the media and in the vote and during the next election cycle. So the NDP, they backed out of the supply and confidence, but now they're again supporting the Liberals. Nothing really changed other than they tried to distance themselves. That's all they did. So the final tally was 211 MPs voting against the motion, 120 in favor. 2 independent MPs and 2 Green MPs voted against the motion. 2 other independents voted with the Conservatives. Again, of these 211 MPs, a good portion of them know they're not going to be there come 2025. They're going to get out. And we'll have new MPs. Probably Conservative. It's looking like it's going to be Conservatives are going to win the next election. Now, Poilievre and Trudeau debated whether Canadians want an election at this time. Yes, most of us do want an election. It's just that the people who got in last time don't want it, especially the Liberals. They know their time is up, and they're going to hold on to power. So Trudeau is basically just holding on to power. He's hoping for some kind of magic bullet that will help Canadians magically, and they will survive. Poilievre has a good message: axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, if his party forms the next government. Well, hopefully he can do all that. Axing the carbon tax will help a little. Building new homes, I think, just by slowing down immigration, will allow us to catch up on new homes. Of course, when you build new homes, you're destroying the environment. No one seems to be able to clue into that one. Fix the budget, that would be great. I would start by stop funding UNRWA and stop putting our taxpayer dollars into more useless countries for its foreign aid. Soft power doesn't work in the Gaza Strip. Look what they did with all our money we gave to UNRWA and the West Bank and Gaza. They put it into terror tunnels and weapons. So the Conservatives are already planning to make this more and more of an issue. It's no surprise. They're going to keep hammering. And then the Bloc comes along. They threaten to push for an early election if government doesn't top up pensions by October 29th. Bloc Qubecois leader Yves-François laid out a list of demands Wednesday, as he said the government must fulfill by the end of October if it wants to avoid the risk of an early election. So they want to push Bill C-319, which would hike old age security payouts by 10% for seniors between the ages of 65 and 74. Government topped up these payments for seniors aged 75 and older in 2022. He also wants the government to agree to pass a Bloc Private Members Bill C-282 that exempts the supply managed farm sectors, dairy, poultry, and eggs from any future trade negotiations, which meaning our free trade with the United States. I know the Americans would love for us to drop all tariffs on our dairy and poultry and just massively flood our market with that. If demands are not met, by October 29th, the Bloc will start negotiations with the Conservatives and NDP on toppling Trudeau. If the Liberals come through on those two priorities, the Bloc won't vote against the government before Christmas. So that's going to be 2025, and Singh will get his pension, as well as a lot of them. So Blanchette does have a point. It's good for retired people in Quebec, but also in Canada. It's good for milk, eggs, and poultry producers in Quebec, but also in Canada. That's good for everybody. So he's laying it out. It's good for Quebec, obviously, but it's also not bad for Canada. I remember when my area of Ontario was just dairy farmers' delight. There were dairy farms all over this region. And you saw barns and silos everywhere. You could have a 70-acre farm and still make money on dairy, because dairy is one of those things that are all year round. Instead of like crop sharing, like with corn and soybeans and wheat, with dairy at least you have a continual income all year round. Eggs and poultry, again, there's not that many farmers here that do all three around this area. There's a few, but protecting those industries would be of help. So the Bloc want to protect dairy, poultry, and eggs from any future NAFTA arrangements or any other free trade arrangements that we make. So that's interesting that he's bringing that out. That'll help Blanchette in the next election. But the Parliamentary Budget Office said the Bloc's 10% boost would have a net cost of $16.1 billion over 5 years, a pricey commitment, as the government is trying to find money to expand new social programs and build up Canada's military to meet NATO spending targets. Well, we really don't need new social programs. I don't even use the social programs that we have, at least not knowingly. Most of them I don't use. I don't even know what they are. If I do use them, I don't know what they are, other than the ones that are in schools for the kids. And even then, I don't use them. So they're worried about the cost of topping up your the pensions for the seniors. It would cost a lot of money. That's true. Now the other one, the C-282 bill, would tie the hands of future trade negotiators. Well, obviously, you're protecting a Canadian market, and farmers have lobbied hard for the bill, while trade experts have panned it as problematic ahead of expected renegotiation of the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement. Obviously, if we protect that, then it should be no problem. The United States produces a lot of dairy, and they would love to sell it into Canada. Like I said, our dairy industry was hit hard by the quotas. Many Ontario dairy farmers couldn't make a living on the quotas that they used to have. Farmers could only make so much milk. The rest was dumped. A lot of milk got dumped, which is why you don't find a lot of real milk and ice cream anymore, because there's not enough. It's cheaper to use alternatives. So that's interesting that the Bloc would do that. So can they do it in time? This article says probably not. But the Bloc and the Conservatives together are not powerful enough to topple the government. They need the Bloc and the NDP. And the NDP are struggling in most districts. And just recently, a private members bill set up by the NDP, a Guaranteed Livable Basic Income Act for anyone over the age of 17, so 18 and up. Minister of Finance to develop a national framework to provide all persons over the age of 17 in Canada with access to a guaranteed livable basic income. It also provides for reporting requirements with respect to the framework. First of all, that means you're giving everybody a paycheck, a livable income, regardless if they work or not. Where's the incentive to go work? That's the problem with these kind of bills. I don't agree with giving people a guaranteed livable basic income, because then a lot of people are gonna sit on their ass and do nothing. Hey, I'm getting paid, and I can have the basic necessities that I need. And then you're asking a government to define what is a basic income. Governments are not usually good at that. What's the basic needs for somebody is not the same as another person. People are different all over. And the way taxes are, somebody in Toronto would need a higher basic income than someone that lives in my area, where the cost of housing is a lot less, or the cost of fuel is a lot less. It doesn't make sense. So I'm glad that it failed. Only the NDP voted for it. Everyone else voted no, and that includes the Independents and the Green Party. Doesn't make any sense to reward people who don't work with a basic income. I'd rather see our retirees who have worked all their lives, those who have, get a top up in their pension. But a guaranteed livable basic income act, that's socialism. Doesn't work. I want the people who sit at home and not work get out and get a job to support their families, because I see a lot of them. So it's definitely interesting times for the Canadian government. I know Harper survived a lot of years of minority governments, conservative minority governments. But the Liberals have a huge target on their back simply because they've just overspent. Printing money. Minimum wage is set to go up again, where I am. Which means the cost of everything, your Tim Hortons coffee is going to go up. Because you got to pay the workers more, so they're going to ding the customer. That's going to be everywhere. The problem with the Liberal government and an NDP government, if we ever were to get one, would print money and inflation would rise. And that's just what happened. 2 years of NDP Liberals printing money made everything go up. So I didn't expect this non-confidence vote to go through, and I don't expect the next one to go through. We'll wait and see after October to see what happens. I don't think anyone wants a Christmas election. It'd be better if we had the election now and get rid of Trust Fund Trudeau and Jughead Singh. But any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.